Alright, hello everyone out there on the interwebs. This is Chris McKee with Alamo Music Center in San Antonio, Texas. Find us online at alamomusic.com on our YouTube channel here, which I hope you have subscribed to. And if you haven't, please be sure to do so you get all the latest and greatest from yours truly and our band of cohort misfits here in my evil lair. We are going to be doing a cool video for you. Before we get to that, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, all of the normal places. We're a brick and mortar store, so we hope you visit if you are in the San Antonio area or if you're visiting San Antonio. We're downtown near the Riverwalk in a historic building and oldest music store in Texas. So we got it going on. We hope to have you visit us so that you can partake of some of the goodness that is Alamo Music Center. So we're going to be talking a little bit about Fender guitars today, which is a subject near and dear to my heart. I love Fender guitars. I own Fender guitars. I've played Fender guitars for a long, long time. I'm not going to be playing Fender guitars today. I'm just going to be talking about them, rapping poetically, if you will, while my cohort, Nick Long, shares some spotlight in front of the camera rather than behind the camera for a change. Nick's shown up in some of our other videos, which you may have seen. He is a good-looking brother from another mother, and also as the frontman for Lonely Horse, which is a killer band, so check them out. And that is the plug that Nick paid me for, so I'm going to stop at this point. Just kidding, he didn't pay me yet. So, Fender guitars. Fender is a storied brand. Fender's been around for a long, long time. They actually got their start with Leo Fender making amps. And you know, considering the contribution that Fender has made to the rock and roll world, it's probably surprising to hear that his first foray in guitars was due to his love of Hawaiian slide guitar music and things of the country western sort. So the guitar that's in my lap, the Telecaster, really kind of began life and sprang to life from Hawaiian slide guitar, which is cool. That's very killer. I love how, you know, rock is seemingly been influenced by so many different genres and things that make it utterly uniquely American, and this is no different. So there's a number of guitars in the Fender Electric lineup, and there are a number of variations upon each model. We're not going to go through all of that today. We've done various videos on some of the specific models that Fender makes, and we'll be doing some more. But for today, what we're going to highlight is the primary differences between the body shapes, so that hopefully you can determine what's the best Fender guitar for you. The best Fender guitar for me is all of them. So that may be true of you too. I look at guitars and the various ones that I own and long to own and pine for as tools in my toolbox. They do different things. And so we're going to highlight a bit about what's different with these guitars. Why is a Telecaster different from a Stratocaster? And why would you want one over the other? Or why would you want both? Throw Jazzmaster and Jaguars into that mix as well. And a little bit some of the history. So we hope you enjoy the video and Nick's amazing playing while I have my mediocre talking, and together we will combine to make something stupendous. So here we go. So the first guitar that we're going to look at is where it all started, the granddaddy of them all, the Fender Telecaster. Now the Telecaster got its start in 1950. Leo Fender actually made a guitar inspired by his love of Hawaiian slide guitar, which is interesting because if you think about the contribution Fender's had to rock and roll, the amount of, or the varying genres that have fed into that, making it a very uniquely American music, it just seems to make sense that one of the rock and roll guitars of all time is actually inspired by Hawaiian slide guitar. So there it is. The first guitars were single pickup models. It just had the bridge pickup here, had a cover on it that's been affectionately known as the ashtray cover because most musicians took it off and used it as such. And then that was it. Also, they were pine bodies, which is kind of interesting. They've settled on ash and alder as an option later on. Maple necks, and a lot of those actually kind of got replaced under warranty because there was no truss rod in it. So every model from Fender since has had one. But they added a second pickup later on, and The neck pickup and bridge pickup model was called the Broadcaster. Now that was a short-lived guitar because Gretsch sued Fender for the naming rights because Gretsch had a drum set called the Broadcaster. It was a drum set and it was spelled differently, but you know, I guess you sue if you can so that there's no confusion. So because of that, for a short period of time, there was, in early 51, there were guitars that were produced without a name. It just said Fender on it, which isn't that big of a deal. That was the only really electric guitar they made at the time. But later on, they added the name Telecaster to it. And that was about the same time as the advent of the television, if you will. So that's where they kind of get the name derived from. I mean, again, this was the 50s. And everything that was wonderful that went along with that. So, hence the Telecaster. The Telecaster was the first successfully produced mass market solid body electric guitar. I think I had enough qualifications in there so that no one could get mad at me on the internet. There were other solid body electric guitars. Bigsby had one, for instance. But solid body electric guitar that was successful mass produced, the Telecaster right here, is the very first and the longest running as such. So let's talk about a few things that make the Tele different, and it is a different guitar. First of all, its body with a single cutaway design for most of them is just a slab of ash. This one has a belly carve on the back because it's an American standard and Fender added that little comfortable bit. But it doesn't have a arm bevel here like a Stratocaster does, for instance. And it's something that looks like it could be cut out on a bandsaw because it is something that was cut out on a bandsaw. Okay, so hence, form follows function. The design of this was, again, two pickup. You have a bridge pickup and you have a neck pickup, a three-way selector switch, volume and tone. Incidentally, those early, like 50s, 52 Telecasters had this tone control knob that would completely roll off the highs and you get this really kind of bassy sound going on. The reason for that was because they had not invented the P bass yet. So you might have a bass player kind of playing bass lines on a Telecaster. Most people don't keep things like that. We're guitar players. We love it. We embrace it. So what have you. The pickups are very unique. So let's talk about this because it's not just the layout. It's not just the body that makes this different than a Strat. The bridge pickup is longer and wider than a Strat bridge pickup or any of the single coils on a Stratocaster. It has more windings. It's mounted onto a steel plate in this big massive hunk of bridge. And so what you get is a huge field of magnetism. I really want us to just add an effect when I say magnetism. Isn't that fun? So the magnetic pull is stronger here. It's also angled to accentuate the treble side of the strings over the bass. All of this accumulates to being that twangy, bright Telecaster tone that we're familiar with. It's the guitar that walks in the room and says, "I'm here." You can hear it. You plug it in, you throw it on that bridge pickup, and it will cut through any mix. You do some chicken picking and on it, it's instantly recognizable because of the design of that bridge pickup. In the same way, the neck pickup, or the rhythm, bass pickup, what have you, is very, very different too. You'll notice that it's smaller than a typical single coil. And it's also housed under a metal shield. Now, pickup covers that go on pickups. Pickup covers do something to take away some of the highs, basically. And sometimes it's more noticeable on some pickups versus others. But the whole idea behind this is that this is a very powerful, very high output, strong magnetic, treble-oriented pickup. And this is not. This is more of a mellow pickup. And so on a Telecaster, you can switch between them and hear the dramatic difference. And in the in-between sound, when you have both on, it's a very unique and wonderful tone because you've got these very, very different pickups blending together in a wide range array as well. You know, there's no middle pickup here. They're not close together. So you get this big wide range sound, and then you get the neck pickup, you get the bridge pickup in combination and whatnot. So you're going to listen right now, not to me play, but to the wonderful stylings of Nicholas Long. Alright, so here is the next one in the lineup, and we're going historically. This is the Fender Stratocaster, and I'm hugging it because it's a comfortable guitar. The Stratocaster was brought out in 1954, and it was designed to be an upgrade from the Telecaster. And part of that upgrade was the comfort contoured body. It's one of the most copied guitars in existence, but nothing beats a tried and true Stratocaster. I own a bunch of them. So the Stratocaster is ash or alder body, maple neck, usually rosewood or maple fretboard. Like the Telecaster and all the other guitars we're going to look at today, there's a litany of different options available for these guitars. There are so many different artist models and various lines that Fender does to appeal to a wide range of players. But generally speaking, what you've got is a double cutaway design. You've got a belly carve, which the Telecaster did not have, and you've got an armrest bevel here. You've got 3 single coil pickups, and they're all 3 different than the pickups that came on the Telecaster. The 3 pickups come with a 5-way switch. Now, I should say this. Initially, they didn't. Initially, someone's calling me. Who is it? Someone I probably don't want to talk to. Alright. I don't want to talk to you right now. We're making a video. So, you can leave that in there. Okay. So, the 3 pickups initially were selectable with a 3-way switch. So in 1954, when this came out, you could pick the neck pickup, the middle pickup, or the bridge pickup. And what players found out is that if you could get something in there to kind of wedge that switch and in a kind of in-between sound and get both the neck and the middle, or the middle and the bridge, you could get these really cool, unique tones. Fender eventually figured out that that was a really nice option, and they created the 5-way switch standard on the Fender Stratocaster. It's also got a larger headstock, which creates more mass. I mean, if you're Yngwie, you like the big CBS headstock. I'm not a fan of the CBS headstock personally. But it is different from the Telecaster headstock. And string trees on here just like the Tele has. And then one of the most innovative aspects of it was the floating tremolo. Now technically this is a vibrato. It's not a tremolo, but Fender called it a tremolo and it stuck. So in memory of Leo, we're going to continue to just go ahead and call it a tremolo. It's not a tremolo because it doesn't change the volume, it changes the tone, or the pitch rather, but that's a discussion for another day. So the floating tremolo was very different though. The Telecaster had a string through body design where the bridge was basically fixed, the strings were anchored, and that was it. This allowed a player to bend the note and create that vibrato in chords or single notes that they were making. And you know, while probably the early ideas behind that were for subtle changes and vibrato being added to wonderful lyrical lines, it didn't take long for people, the likes of Jimi Hendrix, to utterly abuse the tremolo to great fashion and form. So you've got a single volume, just like on the Telecaster, but you've also got 2 tone controls. Now, depending upon the Stratocaster, the way they're generally wired is that this tone is for the neck pickup, this tone is for the bridge pickup, or the middle pickup rather, and there's no tone on the bridge pickup, most commonly, particularly on vintage guitars. A lot of the modern guitars, this will work for either mid or bridge pickup. Eric Johnson has his wired for the bridge pickup, take off some of the highs as well and get that kind of smooth tone. So that is the Fender Stratocaster. It is, like I said, the most copied electric guitar ever produced. I mean, what can you say? The amount of incredibly famous figurative rock stars that have utilized this guitar to shape music is a list so long we wouldn't have time to go through it all. So it's really hard to beat. I love my Stratocasters. How can you go wrong? So since 1954, this thing has been rocking every which way it possibly can in so many different hands all over, from Yngwie Malmsteen's lightning fast shredding and Eric Johnson's nuanced virtuosity to Eric Clapton and Cream and Jimmy and so forth. So the Stratocaster. Now we're going to listen to Nick Long make some beautiful sweet sounds on the Stratocaster. So moving right along to 1958, Fender introduces a new guitar at the NAMM show. This guitar is meant to be a range-topping guitar over the Fender Stratocaster, and that was the Jazzmaster. The Jazzmaster was designed to appeal to jazz musicians and all those cool cats playing, you know, all the sweet, sweet jazz tunes. And I think it was really an effort to pull them into the solid body world and away from their jazz boxes or their hollow body and semi-hollow body guitars that they've been playing and accustomed to. It did not work. It never really caught on with the jazz community. What it did catch on with was with the surf community. And later on with indie rock. And we'll talk about why in a moment. But it's a really cool guitar. It's very, very different, and there's some cool things that they did on this that are very different from what happened on a Telecaster and a Stratocaster. So in addition to its different shape, it's got some cool stuff going on. Let's talk about the shape first. This is what we would call one of Fender's offset bodies. So like the Stratocaster before it, it's kind of a double cutaway design, and it has a armrest bevel and it's got a belly carve, but the whole body is offset with the kind of hip area here being lower than up here. Kind of like if you took a gum, like, think of a Stratocaster being made of like Play-Doh and kind of pulling on it on both ends. That's kind of the shape that you get here. The pickups were also very, very different. The Les Paul had come out, and it came out with P90 pickups. A lot of people that I talk to confuse these for P90s. They are not. They are soap bar style pickups in that it's a big kind of flat magnet that is under here, but they are not P90s. They are Jazzmaster pickups. They are unique in their own way. The controls are also very, very different. You have a single volume and a single tone control. You have a separate bridge, kind of like a tune-o-matic style, and then you have a tremolo that's different from the Stratocaster. And one of the cool things about a Jazzmaster and what we're going to see Jaguar tremolo is that they can actually be locked in place. So this one, for instance, this lever has it locked in place, so I cannot, whether I have the arm or otherwise, move that. It's locked, which is kind of a cool feature. You can kind of get the best of both worlds. So another unique aspect, in addition to the body shape and the pickups and the tremolo, is the circuitry of the Jazzmaster. So you've got a single volume and you've got a single tone knob. You've got a three-way toggle switch, which is pretty familiar. It's the same as what a Gibson Les Paul would have, and it does the same thing. Forward is your rhythm pickup or your neck pickup. Middle is both, and then of course back in this case would be your lead or bridge pickup. Now I'm saying rhythm or lead because the way this was designed, Fender specifically called them rhythm and lead pickups, but they also made into this guitar rhythm and lead circuits. So that's what this upper portion here, the upper horn, is for. This is for your rhythm circuit. Now the way that it works, and I'm going to try to go through this because this can be confusing for some people. So if you have any questions, just call me or email me or comment, and I'll try my best to answer it better than I'm about to do, but hopefully this is good. In the down position, it engages the rhythm circuit. In the up position, it's off. Okay? So in the up position, you've got your master volume, you've got master tone, and this works like a regular three-way toggle. Okay? So if you want just your neck pickup in the lead circuit, you take the three-way position toggle switch and put it all the way forward. And it's only that pickup. And then of course you have both or bridge. When this is on, when it's engaged, okay, and it's engaged by going to turning it on that way, these potentiometers are now in play, and the only pickup available is the neck pickup, the rhythm pickup, okay? So this is the rhythm circuit. You can have this wherever you want it. It doesn't matter. You're not going to get the bridge pickup on in this. You only get the neck pickup. And you get a different sound. These are different potentiometers for tone and for volume specifically on here. And it's a different circuit. So so there's two ways of having the neck pickup. You can have the neck pickup with the rhythm circuit, or you can have the neck pickup with the lead circuit and the toggle switch in the first position. And they don't sound the same, okay? So you've got two different tonal options for the rhythm pickup on a Jazzmaster. And if you think about it, it kind of makes sense. It's a Jazzmaster. It's made for jazz guitars. They typically are playing with that nice, warm, thick neck pickup. Having different tonal options with that rhythm sound and being able to control different volume and tone separately on there, and then being able to switch between the two, gives you a lot of tonal options. So I hope that made sense. If you kind of start trying a Jazzmaster, working it out in practice, it works really, really well. So one thing I promised before we move on. This kind of caught on with the surf scene, and in more recent years with the indie rock scene. Why? Well, I think it's a few reasons. One, it's kind of counterculture. Strats are everywhere. Strats and Telecasters are ubiquitous. So in the indie rock and punk scenes and whatnot, you know, it was a different guitar than what everyone else had. But it was also, in the used market, a cheaper guitar than a, say, vintage Telecaster or Stratocaster or just anything that was available, because they didn't initially sell as well when Fender came out with them. They're really, really cool guitars. They also have some cool kind of their own style of noise that you get from these big, massive single coil pickups. That when you're playing music with like pedals, and particularly if it's ambient stuff, you get some cool vibes from a Jazzmaster. And so, based upon its obscurity, its or relative obscurity, I should say, its lower price point that was available, you could pick these things up in pawn shops pretty cheap back in the day. We're saying pre-internet and whatnot. It just kind of helped fuel its popularity with certain types of music. So, with that being said, Nick's going to take it away. He's going to put it through its paces so you can hear all the wonderful tonal options that the Jazzmaster has. All right, so our final foray here is with the Fender Jaguar. Now, if you thought we were going to be talking about the mid-'80s Elite model, I'm sorry to disappoint you. But no, the next one here is going, again, as we have chronologically, it's the Jaguar. Fender came out with the Jaguar in 1962, a few years before it was sold to CBS. And the Jaguar is very different. What I'm holding in my hand is an American Vintage reissue Jaguar. I believe this is a 65 reissue. And you'll find some similarities to the Jazzmaster. It's kind of the Jazzmaster's kissing cousin. It shares the same offset body design with the armrest bevel and the curve. It's got the same lockable floating tremolo. But there are a few other things that they put on here. First of all, knobs, switches, and tone controls. Oh my. It's a little different from a number of standpoints. So let's talk about the pickups first. These are different, of course, than Jazzmaster pickup, but they're also very different from a Stratocaster pickup. These are a little bit taller single coil pickups. They're a little larger than a Strat. They've got a, well, you can see these on this vintage spec guitar, have these kind of coverings on the sides of them, and that was to shield it from electromagnetic interference. It has a separate bridge like the Jazzmaster did, but the early examples had one of these nifty little mutes. They didn't catch on. Shockingly, I know, right? I mean, that just seems super cool and ergonomic. But yeah, people just prefer to palm mute than turn something on and off. So those are some of the interesting things about it. I should note that while it looks very similar to a Jazzmaster, it's actually a shorter scale. Typical Fender scale is 25.5 inches. This is 24. So with the same gauge of strings on, it's a bit, has a bit more give. In fact, it's 24. It's actually a shorter scale than a Les Paul is. So it feels really nice, and it's overall just a different tone that you're going to get out of it. Very cool guitar. Now we're getting to the controls. Now this is where a lot of people get confused. So some of this is going to be similar to the Jazzmaster we talked about. Some of it's a little bit different. So we've got a master volume. We've got a master tone. We have a lead circuit and we have a rhythm circuit. But we don't have a three-way toggle. And that's kind of where things differ. So up here, like on the Jazzmaster we just looked at, you've got the activation for the rhythm circuit. That's going to disable the bridge pickup. It's going to give you the neck pickup only with different controls for volume and tone, specifically for the neck pickup. Okay? In its down position, in the lead circuit, you don't have a three-way toggle here. Instead, you have three selectors. The selectors are neck pickup, bridge pickup, and then what was called a cut switch. Low cut, in fact. It's affectionately been called the strangler or switch. So if you have it in all three up position like I have it right now, then you've got your neck pickup on, you've got your bridge pickup on, and this is in a normal mode. So that's going to be both pickups on at the same time. There's no cut taking place there. It's as you would expect it, and you can control tone here and your volume here. Okay. If you say switch that one off, it's going to be neck only, but a different sound than if you engage the rhythm circuit, just like we saw in the Jazzmaster. If you switch those, now you've turned this off and you have the bridge pickup on. Okay, everything else is just the same. Then in either position, if you turn this switch into the down position, you engage this low cut filter, and it gives you it's an interesting tone. We're going to hear it in just a moment because Nick's going to put it through its paces so you can hear all this wonderful short scale goodness. But basically engaging that allows you to engage this kind of thinning of the sound that you're getting, which is probably more noticeable in the neck pickup than it is in the bridge pickup. So again, like the Jazzmaster, the Jaguar has been a popular guitar, but not as popular as the Strat and Tele. And as such, it's been more popular in some of the indie rock scenes with guys like Johnny Marr from the Smiths playing them and whatnot. They're really cool guitars. The feel is different. and the feel's really great. If you are interested in buying one and say you've played a long scale guitar with something like 9s on it, 10s on this feels kind of like 9s on a longer scale guitar. 9.5 would be maybe an in-between. But they're really, really cool. And once you kind of get the idea of the control layout, it gives you a lot of options. Particularly if you're playing through different pedals, if you're doing any rhythm kind of stuff, it's really a cool guitar. So, without further ado, the maestro's going to take it away. If you've had any questions on anything we've talked about today, hit us up and we'll try to answer to the very best of our ability. We keep all these models in stock at all times in a variety of models available, from artist models to classic player to American vintage standard reissue nitrocellulose goodness guitars. So find us online and give us a call today. Thanks for watching.